All right, time now for Better Pets. While we humans are doing everything we can to avoid the flu this year, we're not the only ones who have to worry.
The dog flu is actually out there, and here to give us insight on that, along with some other winter advice, is our Better Vet, Dr. Andrea Dennis. Thank you so much for being here.
My pleasure.
I didn't know dogs could get the flu.
They can, and not only that, dogs can also spread it to cats too. It doesn't happen. I knew that would pique your interest because you cat owners.
Can dogs give the flu to humans?
No, that has not been isolated. We have not seen that happen. But as you know, the potential's always there. And this is getting a little scientific right off the bat. But when you remember swine flu, I mean, how it affected people. So viruses always mutate and change. So there's always the potential that can happen, but we're not seeing it. It has not been reported. So just to clarify.
And cats can get the flu as well as dogs?
They can. Then it's the same doggy virus that the cats can get.
And do dogs get it from us?
No, it's their own virus.
Their own thing.
Yeah, there's actually two viruses that are out there right now. One is H3N8 and H3N2. And actually, we've first isolated one of them down in Florida about 10 years ago, 15 years ago, and actually came from the horse flu, and then it spread to the dog. So it's all part of mutation.
Is there a flu shot that I should be getting?
There are.
Seriously?
Not for you, but for your dog, and there's nothing for cats yet. Okay, and we'll sort of go over those and basically when we go over the treatment. So there's help out there.
What are the symptoms?
Well, most commonly we do see coughing. That's the #1 symptom that we see, but mainly in dogs, sometimes in cats. But again, this is very rare in cats. So that's why we call it the canine influenza or doggy flu. You'll also see the eyes and the nose have a discharge. Sometimes it's clear, sometimes it's a little bit on the thick side. And of course, a lot of times they stop eating, and they just don't want to have, their regular food. You have to sort of add some chicken to it to make it appetizing, and they're just down and out.
This is a dumb question, but do they run fevers?
They do.
You can tell if
Yes, and that's why when you see any of these symptoms, I would contact your veterinarian, because it's very important that they receive treatment. And it's in cats, I guess, that we don't see it as often, and a lot of times this disease is actually confused with, you ever hear of kennel cough?
Yes,
in dogs? Yeah. So there's some things that are very similar between kennel cough and dog flu, but the dog flu is much more serious. It tends to persist a lot longer, and just the symptoms are more severe. So whenever you have that coughing, bring them to your veterinarian and make an appointment.
Okay.
So, and where are they picking these up?
Most commonly, I call them my social dogs. So you have it with doggy daycares, dog parks, your grooming facility. So when you take even your cats to be groomed and your dogs to be groomed, you do have to be careful. Also to the dog parks. We are seeing a lot more of these contagious type diseases, and I will say that this is extremely contagious. It has, once it reaches a hospital or a grooming facility, people have had to shut down.
Really?
It's happened in West Hartford, it's happened in Granby, and we're extremely careful at the Bloomfield Animal Hospital. So if someone calls and, for instance, says, my dog was at the kennel a week ago and now he's really starting to cough, we will not let the dog inside right away. We start our examination in the parking lot.
Isn't that amazing?
And then we sort of either get a thumbs up or a thumbs down where they can come in the hospital.
Because if the dog has the flu or kennel cough, it's so contagious they can't...
Well, mainly for the flu. Kennel cough is contagious, but not nearly as severely. The flu is much more contagious.
So what do you do?
And then, well, we'll treat them out, and then once we sort of realize what it is, then we'll see them in an isolated room rather than just having them in the waiting room, because they get it from like nuzzling each other. They can get it from licking each other, and even sharing water bowls. That's why that's such a problem at doggy daycares and areas like that.
We know in humans the flu is fatal. Can it be fatal for a dog?
Potentially, and just like in humans, it's the young that are most at risk, so puppies, and then the elderly, or ones that are sick or immunocompromised. But generally, with good, effective treatment and getting them right to the veterinarian, we can save most of them. For most, it's not a fatal condition. It's just, again, so contagious. So
you're going to tell us about the treatments, but I'm also curious, as you tell us about the treatments, is it worse this year like it is for humans? Is it also worse for dogs this year?
It is, but for different reasons. We have a second virus that showed its ugly head in 2015, and it's, the way that people travel with their pets, or even the problem with this new virus was like in Texas and Florida. And what happened after all the hurricanes? These pets are being adopted up this way in the Northeast. We're seeing it on the West Coast. Reno, Nevada is having their major major first outbreak, and so it's spreading around the country because of that, because of the fact that our animals are just, we bring them wherever we go.
That's interesting.
Yeah, so again, if we, but there is a vaccine now, and we've been giving the vaccine.
Oh, there is a one-time vaccine?
Well, you do it yearly.
You got to do it yearly,
because it's, again, a little bit different than the human, and I use the bivalent vaccine mainly to try to prevent, or if we can't prevent the disease, reduce the severity. It really generally reduces the chances of pneumonia that is fatal. So the vaccine, talk to your veterinarian whether that's going to be the right thing for your dog.
Okay.
But it's really a wonderful. We've been very pleased with it for the last 15 years. And then especially, even if a grooming facility or a boarding facility doesn't require it, I would, if you know you're going to bring your dog someplace where there's a lot of other dogs, I would still ask your veterinarian to discuss it, because sometimes they don't always require it, and I think that's important too.
Okay.
And what about antibiotics? I'm confused, because if you have the flu, a lot of times as a human, they'll say it's a virus, just rest and fluids.
Right, and that's, again, up to your veterinarian, but a lot of times they get secondary bacterial infections. Okay. That's where the pneumonia comes in, and that's why antibiotics are often on the list for most of the animals that we treat. We use cough suppressants, but rest them and don't bring them to back to doggy daycare the next day, because it's just letting them rest. And again, we can really stay on top of it.
Moving along, we just want to talk about salt on dogs' paws and things like that.
Yeah,
winter time.
Yeah, this time of year, our dogs are out, your cat is out, and there's a lot of de-icers out there. I would use the ones that say pet friendly or pet safe. Okay. But I also, like this one, we have a picture of it, but yet they're all made up of different things. Sodium chloride, manganese chloride, potassium chloride, and there's some that are safer than others. But my main message is that not all are completely safe. So make sure whenever your pets come inside, wipe their paws down. Do you do that?
Okay.
Yeah. My cats don't go out in the winter.
Oh, okay.
All right, as a reminder, Dr. Dennis is the owner of the Bloomfield Animal Hospital on Old Windsor Road in Bloomfield.
And on alternating Saturday afternoons from 2 to 3, she's taking your listener questions during Pet Talk on WTIC 1080 radio, so tune into that if you can.
All right.